Whenever you're ready.
One of the biggest problems female athletes face is the blatant and subtle sexism that plagues every part of their athletic career. One of the most appalling of these is the pay gap. Historically, women have been excluded from the same benefits that their male counterparts receive. Starting in the 1800s, women were not allowed to play sports as their job was to reproduce, and they believed that physical exertion would ruin this. They would damage their fertility. The first time American women were actually allowed to compete in sports was wealthy women who got to swim in their country clubs. This eventually expands to include tennis and golf, and the 1920 Olympics, it was the first time American women could partake in those three categories. After World War II, women needed to step up and take traditionally men's roles in society when men were gone fighting the war. So the public stigma around women's abilities started to shift, and women were able to establish first professional sports leagues. Big changes don't happen, however, until 1977, when Title IX Education Amendments prohibited sex discrimination in education programs, including sports. Before Title IX, only 1% of college athletics budget was put into women's sports. After Title IX, female sports participation skyrocketed, with a 1,057% increase in high schools playing sports and 614% increase in college students playing women's sports. Title IX helped pave the way for women's equality in sports. Taking a look at professional sports, we have to talk about the U.S. women's soccer team, who have repeatedly performed better and brought in more revenue than the men's. However, they are still paid less. The women have 4 Olympic gold medals compared to the men's 0. In the 2019 World Cup, the French men's team won the World Cup and were awarded $38 million. On the women's side of things, the U.S. women's national team won and were awarded $4 million. To put this in perspective, the entirety of the Women's World Cup tournament was awarded $8 million less than just the French men's team. The U.S. women went on to sue the National Federation for purposeful gender discrimination, to which they responded that women do not perform equally, therefore they should not get the same prize money. The largest gap can be found in basketball, with the average male rookie earning $8.3 million and the average female earning $75,000. Many people justify this by saying that the WNBA does not play as many games, bring as many fans, or get as many sponsorships, therefore they bring in less revenue, and it makes sense that they are paid less. Mary Jo Kane, a women's sports researcher, says, "No, I don't think in the WNBA, where you have shorter seasons and don't have a long history like you do, in the NBA there should be equal pay. That said, I don't think there should be astronomical differences between the same amount of money NBA players make and what women make." What Kane is trying to hint at is equity versus equality, meaning that we don't need to be paid identically for it to be fair. Male NBA players receive about 50% of their team's revenue, while female only receive about 25%. The smallest pay gap is in tennis, with men averaging only $50,000 more than women. This started with Billie Jean King demanding equal pay for both men and women. In one Australian Open, the men's prize money was 585 times more than the women's. King boycotted tournaments and demanded equal pay, and was able to convince most major tournaments to have equal prize money. Another contributing factor to the small wage gap is the media attention. This was brought on by the Battle of the Sexes, where retired pro tennis champ Bobby Riggs said that female tennis was so inferior that he, a 55-year-old retired tennis player, could beat any of the top women. Billie Jean King accepted this challenge, and in front of about 90 million viewers, she beat Riggs, exposing the world to tennis. Another cause which the dramatic wage gap has to do with media coverage. Women's sports traditionally have less coverage, and when they do, it is significantly worse than males, with factors such as unenthusiastic commentary, low production value, fewer instant replays, no gambling or fantasy leagues, and fewer sponsorships, all contributing to the lack of media attention. In a survey, CNN found that 85% of general sports fans are interested in women's sports. However, only 4% of sports media coverage is even focused on women's sports. In addition to this, only 12% of total sports media coverage is given by a female anchor. And even when coverage is given to women, interviews tend to focus on questions about their physical appearance, familiar status, what they are wearing, or even attributing their success to their male coaches. Having female role models in the media is beneficial to young girls, as sports provide a refuge from violence, help them create corrections, and promote feminism. However, studies have shown that girls begin losing interest in sports as young as 7 years old. Female icons like Serena Williams teach young girls that hard work and confidence are admirable, contrasting media that just praises women for their looks. Female professional athletes do not need to be paid identically to males in order to be fair. Men's sports have more fans, sponsors, and bring in more revenue. Therefore, it makes sense that they are paid more. However, female athletes should be given the same opportunities that their male counterparts are, including getting more chances to make money, like through sponsorships and media attention.
Kate, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
Originally, my research question was, are professional athletes overpaid? But the more I looked at the stimulus material, especially, I felt like it played off women, bringing gender to the topic more because of the articles of Serena Williams and the Empowering Women Through Sports ones. And I think it's just super relevant right now with the U.S. women's team suing the National Federation.
Okay, thank you. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why are those questions important?
In the very early stages of my research, I was looking at the statistics of each sports, the wage gap in them, and when I looked at tennis, I saw that it was significantly smaller than all the other sports, and that made me question why that was. So I dove into that a little bit deeper and found the history with Billie Jean King and how she fought for equal pay, and this was super important to my overall conclusion because I saw what worked with her and I kind of applied it to other sports.
Okay, thank you. Give a huge round of applause. All right.